So let's make both navigation and the menu responsive. Let's start with the navigation itself, run through all the breakpoints, and then do the same for the menu when it's open. So desktop looks fine for this navigation. Let's go into tablet. Now in tablet, all of a sudden there's a little bit too much space here because the space of this button is managed with this padding that we've created here. But since the padding is becoming smaller on tablet, I can reduce the padding here a little bit, and this looks great. Actually, you know what? I'm looking here, and actually on mobile, the CTA button is actually being removed completely. So I'm going to keep it on tablet because in tablet we still have nice space. But going into mobile here, I think I am going to apply the mobile hidden or hide mobile class that we have created earlier. And yeah, make sure that it does not appear on both mobile and this breakpoint. So, okay, I'm happy with the navigation. Let's go ahead and open up the menu, make it visible for a second so that we can make sure that it's responsive as well. So to unhide it, I'm going to set the display back to block and the height back to 100. So now we can see it. Now with this menu, before I even go down to tablet, I want to play around with the interface this way because I can already see that this big type that we have here is starting to break as we're potentially, this is still called the desktop breakpoint, and already things are not looking very good, both with the big typography here. The other thing is the logo here is touching the edges of this box that we have here. So let's fix this actually on desktop before we're continuing down to other breakpoints. What I'm thinking for the typography is I think that we always wanted to kind of fill up the whole screen, but obviously when the screen gets smaller, we want the text to also increase with it. Now, previously, we've made the text smaller just based on the desktop, on the breakpoints, right? So on tablet, we've made sure that the text is smaller. But how about making the text responsive so that it really scales down in case the screen scales down? We can actually do this by using a different type of measurement. So instead of using, right now we have pixels here for the size, instead we can use the viewport width as a measurement. And what that basically means, kind of like we're setting the viewport height to fill up the whole screen no matter what the screen size of the user is. If we're going to set the size to be relative to the size or the width of the user's browser, it would always change. So let me show you how that looks. So instead of 200, let's try something like 13 viewport width, which is WV. And it's almost the same size. Maybe we can even do 14. Okay, so now that we have 14, and of course, let's do the line height as well. Viewport width for the line height. Now note what happens. If I start to scale down the screen, the text actually scales exactly together with it because the size of the text is now relative to the width of the browser. So in this case, I feel like this is really, really a good use case. It does start to break at some point here as well. So maybe we actually want this to be 13.5 or something like this. Let's try this. Yeah, I think this really looks better. Okay, so now this is great. The type here works well. And for this logo here, what happens is as the columns get smaller, we actually don't have any padding on this logo menu wrapper. So maybe let's just add a bit of padding here. And now, you know, if it gets smaller, at least there is some padding that makes the logo smaller instead of the logo touching the edges. So, okay, I feel that works pretty well. Let's move down into tablet and see what happens there. So this layout now doesn't make any sense, and I think that perhaps we should switch into the mobile layout that we have here. So basically moves from two columns, one next to each other, to a single column. And the fastest way to do that is actually, let's select the grid that we have here and turn this from a grid to a flex that just has a vertical direction. And of course, we can set this menu info to be the last element. We don't want this to be the first. So we have alignment and order here, and we can select this as last. And now we've got first the menu and then this information here. Now here, by the way, we still have this as 13.5 viewport width. And in this case, I actually think it's a little bit smaller. So actually, let's make this here maybe 18 and 18. Okay, that looks better. Maybe even give it a little bit more space. And we also have here this underline that goes here. So we can either give this menu link, actually this menu link we can give a little bit padding from the bottom, and let's give it a border here. So down border, just on the bottom edge of this wrapper. Let's turn it into a gray 1 pixel. Okay, that's not bad. Now let's also add a little bit of a padding so there's space between that and the other wrapper for the logo. And now we've got this line between these elements, which is actually the bottom border of this menu link. So I feel like this gives us pretty much the same look here. And that looks good. So now we can move into mobile. That basically looks perfect as it is. Because again, we don't have to make this text smaller. It's just responsive based on the width of the browser. Mobile. Now this is a little bit too big. So let's take this down a notch. Maybe 16 viewport width. Maybe, yeah, I feel like this looks pretty good. Okay. So now the mobile is responsive on all breakpoints. I'm going to go back and hide the menu wrapper. So let's turn it back into height of 0 and then hide it. And now we can preview. We can open it and it's responsive. Well, should probably, if we preview this and test it out, yep, everything looks good. All right, so the menu is now responsive.